new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good evening, it's 9 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight, a chilling new child sex abuse scandal that involves girls as young as 13 years old, high streets, mini-marts and a potential police cover-up. I'm going to put a national spotlight on it on this show this evening. Also,
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
is diversity really still our strength? Do we need to have more uncomfortable conversations about the ever-increasing role of Islam in Western society? And
look, I get it. We all hate party broadcasts. We just want to watch Corrie or whatever's on next.
yeah, well, I hate whatever that was. Are the Green Party completely hypocritical when all their leaders seem to have different values? And
amidst the conflict in the Middle East, there's one thing I want you to know about this government. We are going to fight your corner.
And what can we do to protect a globalised Britain's energy, particularly as the world is seemingly edging closer and closer to war?
The thing that I like about the flags is that we're trying to remind everyone that this country's got a great history and a great culture, and it shouldn't be erased. We should be learning this at school from a young age.
A hospital has torn down Union flags after calling them unsettling and said it was disappointing that staff had to deal with them. What do you think the patients had to say? And
this has never happened before. They were really pretty much our first ally, all over the world, first ally.
The United States President Donald Trump has expressed his disappointment in Britain again, and that's as the Islamist regime in Iran has launched ballistic missiles at the Chagos Islands Diego Garcia base. Has Donald Trump once again been proven right? And Home Office officials are seemingly trying to block the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from being given taxpayer-funded security over fears of a public backlash. Is this the right thing to do? And joining me this evening is Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham, entertainment correspondent at The Telegraph India McTaggart, and former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards. And what's going on here? That poor bloke. I'll reveal all later. Trust me, it's not what it seems. A huge 2 hours coming up, and your Saturday evening is just about to get started. But we're going to get your news first with the brilliant Bethany Elsey.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 9:02. Israel's army chief is warning Iran's ballistic missile range could reach European capitals such as Berlin, Paris and Rome. It's after Tehran launched 2 missiles towards a British-American military base on Diego Garcia, which Israel claims had a range of 4,000 kilometres. Both missiles failed to reach their intended target, as one was shot down by an American warship and the other failed in flight. US forces have been given permission to use UK bases to launch strikes to protect the Strait of Hormuz. But tonight, the UK government has confirmed RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus will not be used. The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, insists the UK will not be dragged into the wider conflict.
We've seen the latest in Iran's reckless strikes aiming at Gulf partners, at international shipping, at allies and British interests as well. And that is why we have continued to support defensive action. We were not and continue not to be involved in offensive action.
An Iranian man and a Romanian woman have been charged after allegedly trying to enter the base for the UK's nuclear submarine fleet at Faslane near Glasgow. The pair, who are 34 and 31, are due to appear before Dumbarton Sheriff Court on Monday, when more details of their charges are expected to be released. The number of cases in the UK's meningitis outbreak has risen to 34, up from 29 yesterday. That includes the 2 students who were killed from the virus in Kent last weekend. All cases have required hospital admission. Hundreds of people have again been queuing outside the University of Kent today, waiting to receive vaccines. Meanwhile, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is also urging people to get vaccinated against measles after an outbreak in Enfield, which he says could have been prevented.
What's made me so sad and angry is that the outbreak we've seen is entirely preventable if people get vaccinated.
The former FBI chief Robert Mueller has died at the age of 81. He was responsible for overseeing an investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, which Donald Trump won. Mueller was also a decorated Vietnam War veteran who led the FBI in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. It's reported he'd been suffering from Parkinson's disease. The US president has posted on Truth Social saying he's glad he's dead. Those are your latest news headlines. I'll be back with more at 10 o'clock.
Is diversity still our strength? That's 30,000 Muslims taking over a park in Birmingham, a public space, of course. Is that an act of diversity? well, of course, was Trafalgar Square. Or what about this video from New York's Times Square? Of course, not all Muslims are happy about this.
Muslims, I love my religion, but Nick is the chap who made the comment. He's not wrong. You shouldn't have arranged the event. It was unnecessary.
You shouldn't?
No. It
Why?
shouldn't have. This was a normal night of the fasting month. You shouldn't be out in the public. It's meant to be a time we should be all in the mosques and not just being there because the mayor's come in.
And even the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, after being rushed out of a mosque, still proclaimed that diversity is our strength. The problem with statements like this is that events such as these are inherently not diverse. They are spaces procured for one homogenous group of people. And I'm having this conversation tonight because there is a growing, difficult conversation about the role and place of Islam in Western democracies, particularly political Islam. And when I mean that, I sometimes mean Islamism, which is quite dangerous, and then the sectarianism that has seemingly come with it. It's become an issue to me, especially when I went and saw things like the Al-Quds March the other weekend, where thousands of mostly Muslim people were holding up portraits with the terrorist regime Ayatollahs, Khamenei and now Moshtaba on it, paying homage to a regime, seemingly, that chants death to England during its Friday prayers. This worrying support of our enemies is reiterated in a recent poll that suggested 39% of British Muslims held a favourable view of Iran, compared to just 8% of the wider British public. That's 5 times higher. Net favourability towards Iran was plus 22% among British Muslims versus minus 42% for the general public. It's not just wars as well. So look at Muslim views of homosexuality. Only 28% of British Muslims would find it undesirable to outlaw homosexuality. That's versus 62% of the British public that would find that undesirable, according to research from the Henry Jackson Society. Then there's this interesting part of the conversation from GBNews' Miriam Cates' incredible interview with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
I have nothing against with the Muslim civilization. I think it's a great achievement of the human being, and definitely they have their own place, and this place is definitely not Hungary.
Well, there you have it. You can hear my panel's already enjoying this. So is diversity our strength, or is it becoming our biggest dividing weakness? Let's get the thoughts of the team tonight. Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham, entertainment correspondent at The Telegraph India McTaggart, and former Labour advisor Paul Richards. Paul, I'll start with you on this one. We're bringing this up because I want to have this debate on this panel too, because we have difficult conversations on here, as you know, having sat through this many, many weeks. And we're seeing now more conversations about the role of Islam in Western societies. Viktor Orban there said that he doesn't welcome Muslims into Hungary. Of course, Britain's a very tolerant society. We welcome Muslims to Britain. But when we see what's happened in Trafalgar Square in Birmingham, do we think that you converge on this strength, diversity being our strength, to actually it being a closed-off weakness that we end up fighting over?
I mean, Viktor Orban's about to lose the election because the economy is tanking, and actually he's trying to play a certain political game by talking about Muslims, but the electorate in Hungary are going in the other direction. And to your question, though, I mean, I'm uncomfortable with these kind of mass outpourings of prayer in public spaces, but actually, Trafalgar Square is a public space, and Muslims are members of the public. In a few weeks' time, there'll be a passion play where somebody's going to dress up as Jesus Christ and drag a cross around covered in fake blood. Now, some people might find that offensive and a bit much, isn't it? And another day, there'll be England fans celebrating England's victory in the World Cup and weeing in the fountains, and I don't like that either. But it's a public space, and the public are entitled to go into it.
Layla.
See, I don't quite agree. This wasn't just a celebration. This was mass prayer. It was state-sponsored, state-organised. The state participated in it. And I think that's very different. And I do think, the Islamism is obviously on one spectrum, you have terrorists, but then you do have when religion, Islam, seeps into civic life, seeps into politics, and people are seeing that with their own eyes, and it frightens them, rightly so.
But it's very important, isn't it, to pick up Alex's point about the difference between Islamism as a political ideology coming out of Egypt and the Brotherhood of Islam and all that, the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, that's why we
and it's been eradicated. I mean, well, hang on.
But hang on, the other side of it then is the religion, which has got so many different sects and schisms, and it has modernisers, it has traditionalists, just as all world religions do. So to paint that as one thing is equally dangerous.
Why I make the distinction.
Yeah, and that's why I was making. Islamism is the politicisation of religion. It is using, and there was absolutely no reason to have that mass prayer. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and it rubbed people the wrong way, and I get it because people feel that there is an increase of Islam in civic life. And some people can see it as dominant. And people say, oh, you're going to have Christian celebrations. Every country has its own culture, its own values, its own way of life. It's like the operating system of a country. And the operating system of this country is Christianity. And that should be the umbrella under which we all operate. Yes, of course, and listen, there are places of worship where you worship, but when it seeps into political and public and civic life, it stops being purely
But one of the great, but just before
it stops being about religion, and it starts being, some people can view it as dominance. There was no reason to do that.
You can come back in a second. I want to bring India in, because India's been sitting very patiently. Thank you, India. I also played that clip there of an LBC conversation where two British Muslims called in and said this wasn't necessary. We didn't need to have these acts of prayer, and actually felt that it was a bit abhorrent to him as a Muslim, and said this is a place for mosque prayer. This is what we're told to do. Therefore, it wasn't necessary, and he feels like it was an outer. Some Muslims online and people I've been messaging around my family, who some of them are Muslims, are saying that they did feel like it was an out-and-out Islamist thing that was pushed in order to show, look, we're all here. What do you make?
It was a show of force.
And I think that's a really important point to make, because I do think that Muslims sometimes just want to get on in this country, in the UK, and very happy to celebrate the end of Ramadan in a mosque. But I think public street prayers, as Layla said, can be a little bit intimidating. You imagine seeing sort of tens of thousands of people doing something, maybe even as a child, that you're unfamiliar with. I don't think it is sort of, we are a secular society, and I think that is really where I come back to our Western democracy, our values. We are secular, so this kind of display shouldn't be in a public space.
But also, the fact that when an MP raises concern, the immediate thing is sack him. Nick Timothy, I'm sure, raised the concern that many British people feel. And it is, if you raise any kind of concern, you're divisive, you're Islamophobic, sack him. We have to have a debate about the rise of Islamism in this country, the rise of sectarian voting. And frankly, we've been too silent on it. Like you said, El-Quds March was allowed to go ahead. Basically a propaganda machine of a country that we're at war with, that says death to the West, carrying the photo of a leader who says death to the West and organised. And we allowed that.
Cool.
Well, the march was banned. It was a static march that was allowed under the law.
It wasn't banned, static.
Layla's saying we're a Christian country, India's saying we're a secular country. We have to pick a lane here. So either we ban worship in public or we don't.
We're not allowed to have differing opinions under Labour?
Well, no, what I'm saying is there's a confusion at the heart of the argument, isn't it? Because I'm a secularist and I don't think we should have religion in our politics. That's why I oppose Islamism. And I also oppose the bishops in the House of Lords.
What would you do,
same
Paul?
basis.
What would you do?
Well, I think as a public square, if people want to do that, they should be allowed to, if it's legal and peaceful, from whichever religion, as long as it's not compulsory. And I don't think it was compulsory. So if they wanted to do it, fine. Then next day, someone else is doing something in that public square. That square has seen riots, demonstrations, people falling in love, people, going for walks. It is just a public space. I'm just concerned that if we start banning religion from that public square, where does it end?
I think we should also, though, bring up that Sadiq Khan was present in the Trafalgar Square one, and I think that's also quite significant because, as Elena will know, when someone from an active political position kind of endorses something like this...
State-sponsored.
Well, exactly. So I think it speaks to the situation differently, and there are comments in the Telegraph from an imam of 40 years who actually called it very disturbing. He's called Dr. Taj Haji, he's the director of the Oxford Institute for British Islam, and he said, he's quite concerned about the direction that Islam is taking in the Western world and in this country in particular.
Which makes my point. There is a plurality of views within Islam.
Yeah.
There are reformists and there are
because that's not true. That was not about religion.
Plainly is true.
That was the politicization of religion, and you have to make a difference. That was not about religion in any way. And you even see, like, the UAE wants to ban their students from coming here for fear of indoctrination. We have let Islamism kind of free here. We've given asylum. We haven't prescribed the Muslim Brotherhood. We haven't prescribed the IRGC. We've been very lax, and frankly, it scares me and it scares other people, and incredibly, it scares the Middle East from sending their kids here.
It's a really good point as well, and I want to get onto this politician's point. First of all, you made a really good point later about Nick Timothy being sacked. I want to ask you, Paul, do you think he should be sacked? But then on top of that as well, should politicians like Sadiq Khan, whose biggest message there, by the way, was we're having the biggest iftar in the West, is that really the point of this event? Is it to make it seem some sort of competition, like who can get the most Muslims together to celebrate an iftar? Or should it be a celebration of the religion without politicians being involved?
I don't think politicians should be sacked just because they say something you don't agree with. I think the argument needs to be engaged with. But I would invite Mr. Timothy just to reflect on his remarks and the impact they've had and who's been piling in behind them, because I'm not sure if he quite understood the impact as he was saying it. He's certainly playing quite a dangerous game.
You see, your words are you're just being PC. Reflect and a dangerous game basically means that you say it shouldn't be said. You're saying, what does reflect mean? Reflect means that really he shouldn't have said it. You think he said something wrong, he should reflect on it, he's playing a dangerous game. What game is he playing? He is voicing that many people, and I don't know who you say is piling onto it, many people agree with what he says. I'm one of them, maybe not the exact wording, but I do agree that that was a show of force.
And the second thing you asked about was Sadiq Khan and his role. Well, he's a Muslim mayor, and I think if he wants to take part in a religious ceremony of his faith, just as a Christian mayor might do as the Passion Play next week, that's fine.
But he's the mayor of a Christian city.
And final word to you, India. Do you think we should have these sorts of events banned? Do you think we should welcome them in Britain? What do you think?
I think there's a balance to be found. I don't want to offer a hard line, we should ban them, but as I mentioned before, I do think that the focus should be on us as a secular nation, and of course, diversity should be celebrated. And I would never go as hardline as Viktor Orban in his interview, because that's a ridiculous position to take. But it's a really fine line, because I think you don't want people to come in and not embrace the Western culture.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You come here and you bring your culture, of course, and you celebrate your culture, but you integrate into ours.
Yes.
I certainly agree, and that's my position on it. Assimilation is really important. I know loads of Muslims have come to this country completely assimilated. You'd never even know what religion they were, or you just assume they're British through and through. And that is exactly what we were promised would be the case. And that's exactly what I want to see.
Can I just say one more thing? When I see that, I'm like, oh, God, it's just going to create resentment, anger. I'm going to get an onslaught online.
Yeah.
And that's
the problem, is it, as well? Because moderate Muslims do get the onslaught as a result of this.
Like this guy said, in the Telegraph, you just want to get on with your life, and just practice in the mosque or practice at home. It doesn't have to be a show of force.
Right, there we have it. That's what the panel thinks. Time now for the Great British Giveaway, though, and it's your chance to drive away with a brand new camper van worth over 67 grand and 25k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van worth over £67,000. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. In total, this prize package is worth over £92,000. So make sure you secure your place in the draw. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck!
All right, coming up, Ed Miliband thinks the best way to solve the energy crisis is by going further and faster on net zero. But why don't we just use all of our great assets in the North Sea? But next...
Look, I get it. We all hate party broadcasts. We just want to watch Corrie or whatever's on next.
What do the Greens actually stand for? Are they a party of hypocrites? That's coming up next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB Loyalty Points is here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on Your Say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB Loyalty Points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The Green Party is facing fresh scrutiny, with many pointing out members are openly divided on major issues, leaving voters asking what the party actually stands for.
How are they able to reach a common understanding when all of the leaders' values differentiate from one another? We have the leader of the Green Party who used to hypnotise women through their breasts and who is also gay. We have the co-deputy leader who is a Muslim man who screams Allahu Akbar in the street and who very much seems like he is in this for the Muslim people. And then we have a recently resigned plumber who is a female who only got into politics as of 6 months ago, if even that.
Well, look, if they can't agree among themselves, are they fit to govern? Or are they just political hypocrites? Or perhaps that is the future of British politics? Well, we're now joined by former Deputy Leader of the Green Party, Shara Ali, of course, and the Director of Climate Media Coalition, Donna McCarthy. Have I said that wrong?
Perfect.
Great, thank you. I always don't like to butcher people's names before we get started. Shara Ali, I'll start with you. There is more discussion, isn't there, about who the people are leading the Green Party, but also what the policies of the Greens are. And one of the things I hear quite often these days is that the Green Party used to be about green issues. However, in the by-election, the Gorton and Denton, we heard very little about their green policies. Is it fair criticism they're getting?
Well, look, first of all, I think that's a very interesting clip you just played. And what I take from that is the idea that you can't have political parties where people differ in their basic viewpoints, and I think that's a mistake. And within the Green Party, particularly the Green Party that I think would be more successful, you have a diversity of viewpoints, and that's what you do have. And if there's one criticism you can file against the leadership, isn't that we've got a diverse team, a Jew, a Muslim, and a woman. Well, admittedly, a woman who thinks that men can be women, but, there you go. We've got viewpoint and diversity. That's very important. If a political party is going to be firing on all cylinders, they need to be able to represent the people that they're, the general electorate. And I think, arguably, they do that. I think where there is a difficulty, it's not necessarily hypocrisy in terms of our leadership team expressing different viewpoints. I think that's permissible within a certain range. What we've got is each leader or deputy leader is in conflict within the statements they themselves make.
Sure.
We've got a deputy leader, for example, who claims that he can have one life as a Muslim and one life as a politician. That's not coherent. And I don't actually think that politics should be suffused with religious dogmatic ideology. I think it's dangerous. Politics should be a predominantly secular space. And I don't want to see, actually, people in the Green Party presenting themselves as Muslim candidates. They can be Muslim, but that should be very much in the background, and it shouldn't be interfering with their commitment to treating everybody as equal, regardless of religion or race, and making sure they don't prioritise Islam or stop criticising it when it's required.
Donica, do you agree with what you've just heard there?
Well, I think looking at the video, I found it quite funny. Basically, she was saying, they're all arguing each other. She didn't name any policy that they disagreed with each other. She just said they're a Jewish, they're a Muslim, and they're a woman. So are millions of us. What's the problem? That means that the party's inclusive. There is not a problem here. I don't see what she's talking about. But as regards what the Green Party stands for, I think for me, I think why it's interesting that there are Muslims there and many environmentalists, obviously, in the Green Party, is that there's a common value there of standing up against mass killing of people. Climate change is one of the greatest threats to human life in human history. The genocide in Gaza is affecting people across the world who are brokenhearted at what we see. So that unites Muslim people and actual people of all races and all religions. We are all horrified at the slaughter in Palestine. And we're all horrified at the deaths that are unfolding across the planet with climate change. And so therefore I see the two issues coming together. And the other point about Muslim people, many of them come from countries that are being hammered by climate change. For example, Pakistan, country of 120 million people, 70% of land in Pakistan was flooded in recent extreme weather. So again, commonality between Muslim countries and Muslim people being members of the Green Party.
Yeah, I mean, what's extraordinary about what we've just heard, right, is, and I believe that you're not a member of the party. I hope you don't mind me mentioning that. But you don't hear that stated at all by current Green politicians. They are not talking about the climate change calamity. They are not making the connection between the overconsumptive lifestyles of the West and the UK included, and low-lying lands being drowned. So that connection is not made because the climate change and the idea that we need to lower our carbon footprint forever, for example, that is a hard sell, and it's not something that we've been campaigning on in Gorton and Denton by-election, where we did very well. But it's not good enough, actually, for us to be solely focusing on the topics which, for example, the Muslim bloc vote community it wants to hear us on Gaza. That is not a UK political issue as such. It is something that we identify very strongly with in terms of pacifism or anti-war, but that's not a sufficiently broad spectrum of political viewpoint. It's actually rather disingenuous to be campaigning just on that.
I think you're being slightly unfair there, Sharad. One of the things that I was very excited is the term eco-populism. What does eco-populism mean to me? Every single green issue should be tested as to whether it benefits working-class people and benefits their cost of living. And so there's a whole range of exciting policies there, green policies that will benefit working-class people, lower public transport fees, subsidising renewable energy, making sure their homes are insulated, making sure they have access to healthy food, making sure that we tackle the real huge carbon footprint of the billionaire class.
No, and listen,
use the funding from the billionaire class to help the working class.
No, and I understand that, but Shara's making a point here that you're saying it, but Zach Palansky isn't. The Gorson and Denson by-election was completely devoid of any green issues. It was a Gaza hijacked election by the Greens. When I saw the people carrying flags. They weren't carrying flags in solidarity with people who are affected by climate change. They were carrying flags in solidarity with people from Gaza. And I think you're right to point out there might be this commonality between people who are affected by war and death. However, there wasn't the same outcry when Iran was killing 40,000 people from the Green Party. So I think there's, again, this... It seems to be, if you look at it on an objective way, it seems more sectarian on Gaza than it does anything else.
No, well, sorry, I do not accept that the issue of genocide in Palestine is sectarian.
Do you accept it about Iran, then?
Of course. The horrific murder by the regime of its own people was horrific.
I agree with you, and you agree, but does the Green Party not... Why does the Green Party not say that?
Every time the West interferes with Iran, we damage the opposition. Remember, the mullahs in Iran came out of Britain interfering in Iran. We need to stop attacking we need to stop Middle East countries, waging war in Middle East countries. Every time we wage war in Middle East countries...
Yeah, but that's a deflection from what I wasn't talking about the war in Iran. I was talking about the Iranian mullahs that were slaughtering thousands of people that the Green Party said nothing about. But when it was Gaza, they were very happy to do so. Can you not see But yes, I didn't see that from the leadership. I'll pass it back to you, Shara.
There hasn't been, and you're absolutely right. You've called it out, and we need to express some hard home truths here. First of all, the Green Party is thoroughly inconsistent on its focus on international issues. We've had a Deputy Leader, Motin Ali, who was caught at a pro-Iranian march and a rally. Let me finish, please.
I'll let you come back. I'll let you come back. I promise. Donica, I'll let you come back.
Plenty of opportunity for him to clarify his position, and he refused to. Instead, he claimed Islamophobia because people wanted to scrutinise, as they're entitled to, a deputy leader of a major political party. So we are radically inconsistent. On the eco front, Zach Palansky fought his leadership election successfully, and he's been doing very well, very effective communicator on eco-populism. I put it to you, what we've heard is eco-free populism. We've got the populism part. The populism part is opportunistic, which is we'll tell you, depending on who you are, what you want to hear in order to maximise our vote share. That is not... not a politics of integrity. It's a lowest common denominator approach. We've heard nothing about environmentalism or climate emergency.
Very brief final word, please.
I've heard the Green Party saying two things. One is they want to bring down public transport costs for poor people so they can get around and get to work at low cost. That's eco and it's populist. Secondly, I've heard the Green Party want to bring down bills for electricity bills. The biggest barrier to people moving from gas fossil fuels to electric green heating is the cost. There is around £1,000 of levies, not green levies, brown levies on electricity bills. And they want to bring those levies down to make it cheaper for working class people to pay their bills. Those are eco-populist, and I applaud them for both of them.
All right, gentlemen, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for a good, hearty debate on this. Really appreciate it. Well, of course, we'll have both of you back very, very soon.
All right, cheers.
Coming up shortly, though, a chilling new child sex abuse scandal that involves girls as young as 13 years old. High streets, mini-marts, and a potential police cover-up. I'm going to put a national spotlight on this story later on in the show. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. I think it is the next grooming gang scandal. But next.
Amidst the conflict in the Middle East, there's one thing I want you to know about this government. We are going to fight your corner.
What can we do to protect a globalised Britain's energy, particularly as the world is seemingly edging closer to war? That's next.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The weather remains pretty disturbed around the Canaries. Further gusty winds and heavy showers. More showers to come in Cyprus as well this weekend. Should see some sunshine in Mallorca. Madeira also seeing heavy showers from an area of low pressure. Storm Therese still in evidence here. The odd shower in southern Spain, but most of Spain and Portugal dry and sunny. Good deal of dry weather across southern Italy. 1 or 2 showers likely in Sicily. The showers fading in Greece. Some sunny spells here. Continued risk of thunderstorms in the Canaries into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. After plenty of sunshine on Saturday, clear skies tonight will allow some patchy fog to once again reform across England and Wales. Further north and west, though, it is going to be much cloudier, and that's courtesy of this weather front pushing in from the northwest. And through the day on Sunday, that will bring some patchy rain further south too. But back to this evening, and it's underneath the clearing skies across England and Wales. We'd like to see temperatures fall away the quickest, so it will turn to a chilly night across more southern and central parts of the UK. Patchy fog forming, particularly across the southwest of England, but also some patches for the Midlands and maybe the southeast of England. A widespread frost in the countryside with lows of -1 to -3 degrees, perhaps in the most prone locations. Further north and west, though, skies will be cloudying over, and we will see some patchy rain for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England later in the night, although that will be clearing from the very far northwest of Scotland by the morning, so some brighter skies for the Hebrides and the Highlands. Patchy rain for Northern Ireland first thing, and maybe the rain pushing into parts of North Wales as well for breakfast time. Otherwise, a bright start today for many southern parts of Britain. Sunny skies for many, but there will be some fog patches, and those will only slowly lift through the morning. So parts of East Anglia and the East Midlands could stay a little bit grey for a little bit longer. But the best of the brightness will be across the southeastern third of the UK on Sunday. Thicker cloud for Northern England, Wales and the Midlands. Patchy rain here by the afternoon, but brightening skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but turning windy in the north of Scotland and colder. So heavy showers, perhaps hail and some sleet down to lower levels later in the day. Some fog around first thing on Monday, but for most of England and Wales it will brighten up with some hazy spells of sunshine. Thicker cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and turning wet and windy in western Scotland later, with some particularly heavy rain for the Highlands. Now, as we go through the coming week, it is going to start to turn increasingly more changeable for all of us, and temperatures will fall away, so feeling quite cold by Wednesday.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, who also might be future Prime Minister at this rate, by the way, says Britain must not learn the wrong lessons from the latest energy shock, insisting North Sea oil is a declining resource without a future and is therefore pushing to go further and faster on net zero. Please save my bank account, somebody. But with global prices surging amid war in the Middle East, Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage are both piling pressure on the government to act and unleash production in the North Sea. Official oil and gas statistics suggest that 90% of North Sea reserves have already drained dry. So would reviving drilling really protect Britain, or is it already too late? Well, I'm now joined by former Executive Director of the Green Alliance and former Labour member of the European Parliament, Sean Spears. Sean, thank you very much for joining me. Does Ed Miliband need to drill, baby, drill?
No, I think Ed is right. Actually, it is a declining basin. It doesn't affect the price of UK energy doesn't affect our energy security, I think the thing to do is to double down on the attempt to get to clean power by 2030, clean, homegrown, renewable energy. That's the way forward.
Sean, many people point to Norway. They are drilling in the North Sea. They have a massive sovereign wealth fund, which they're doing quite well off the back of. They're one of the wealthiest nations in Europe off the back of that oil that they have sold. On top of that, we buy our oil from them, which we could be drilling. Would that not make a difference to the prices here in Britain and at least prop up our coffers, let's put it that way?
No, not at all. It wouldn't, because the price is set on international markets, and the contribution of our North Sea oil or gas would be infinitesimal. So it would make no difference to the price. The difference between the UK and Norway is that Norway had a planned extraction when North Sea oil and gas was discovered in the 70s. They planned to do it slowly. It was very state-led. It wasn't the sort of market frenzy we had in the UK. So they've got more left. And as you say, they've invested it in a sovereign wealth fund rather than just spending it on profits and tax cuts and whatever, which was the pattern in the 80s. So it's a very different way of going on. Also, the carbon intensity of their gas is 3 times less than ours. So it's better in terms of climate change. And that's where we get most of our gas from, is from the Norwegian fields.
And Sean, other things to note, perhaps, solar farms, we're now going to double down on those. I think there's 1.3 million or so acres of land is going to be designated towards building things like solar farms, not just exclusively, but things such as those like wind farms too. Many people say that arable farmland is also going to be destroyed as a result of that. I think it was dubbed online, I can't remember which journalist it was, but they said it was, you'd have energy, but you'll starve to death while we have it. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I'm not sure if those people also want to get rid of the biofuels that we grow on our land, and a lot of the arable land is producing crops that we export to feed to cattle abroad, or indeed to our own meat production. I think these things are complex. You need to work out where you put solar farms. I used to lead the campaign to protect rural England. You know, I'm not indifferent to the landscape impact of onshore wind and solar, but there's really no pain-free way of producing energy. I mean, we got some really tough choices to make, and I think what we learned from the Ukraine crisis in 2022, and what we're learning again now, is the sooner that we can produce our own energy, the better. And nobody, by the way, is suggesting that we stop producing oil and gas in the North Sea. The question is about whether you shift the focus of policy to try to get the last drop out, which would be require tax cuts to the producers, probably letting them off some of their regulations about cleaning up oil fields that are, when they're exhausted.
All right.
It's all a question of balance.
Yeah, fair enough, Sean. Thank you so much for joining me. That's Sean Spires there. I'm just going to bring it back into the studio to my panel here. Layla, your party's policy, Reform UK, wants to drill, baby, drill. Why is that better than what Ed Miliband's proposing?
Well, I mean, you've seen the Iran war. They're using energy as a geopolitical weapon. And the countries that suffer the most are the countries that don't have storage and don't produce it ourselves. Yes, he's right that it's sold on the international markets. But if you produce energy here, the government actually gets taxes from it.
Yes.
It produces jobs. But if we import it, the money goes abroad. So what he said actually was not true. We can actually profit from it. And if it is a real emergency, we can requisition it for national use. The government, there is legislation to say that. But if we don't produce it, we're very, very susceptible and vulnerable, because what we've realised from the Iran war is energy policy equals national security policy. And the madness is, Alex, is the Tories shut down all our storage. So we only have 2 days runway.
That is very true. Paul?
Well, Thatcher had the oil and it's gone. You know, she spent it, like Sean said. The Norwegians put it into the Sovereign Wealth Fund and have done much better as a result. We just splurged it up the wall in the 80s and it's all gone. The study I saw, by the way, shows there's only 1.7% of it left by 2050. So
although we say that and we keep on finding more, that's the problem.
I think the answer is in nuclear and renewables and energy security in this country.
Alex, the problem, the problem with renewables is they are intermittent. So when the wind doesn't blow, when the sun doesn't shine, there is a base load, and that base load is gas. And we are reliant on gas a lot more than we are on intermittent weather. So we need that gas, and we need to be self-reliant on it. I don't understand why people don't understand it.
I think the increased drilling in the North Sea is a long-term strategy. So God forbid if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for a year or longer, then it starts to make sense. Because if we start drilling more now, this will take probably 2 to 5 years to come into effect.
Exactly.
So I think the probably more astute thing to do is lowering the windfall tax to increase investment. That's immediate investment that could unlock marginal fields that aren't currently viable for businesses, and I think that would be the way forward.
Yeah, interesting stuff. There's a lot to be discussed, isn't there, on this, and we'll see how long this war continues on for. What coming up?
The thing that I like about the flags is that we're trying to remind everyone that this country's got a great history and a great culture, and it shouldn't be erased. We should be learning this at school from a young age.
Top man. Well, a hospital has torn down union flags after calling them unsettling and said it was disappointing that staff had to deal with them. What do you think patients had to say? That's next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Look, we're thrilled to announce that GB News Breakfast has once again been nominated for Best News Programme at the Trick Awards. We've won this award for the past 3 years, and we couldn't have done it without you, our loyal audience at home and listening on radio. But we need you to vote for us if you think we should win this year too. You can do that by scanning the QR code on the screen or by going to poll-trick.org.uk. Thank you very much for your support as ever. Maybe one day I'll get a Trick Award, I don't know. I'm joking, highly unlikely. Anyway, an NHS trust in Bristol has sparked controversy over Union Jack flags that were removed from outside a major hospital for, get this, being deemed unsettling. The flags were put up by grassroots group Bristol Rises, who say they wanted to bring joy to long-stay patients at Southmead Hospital. But despite patients reportedly requesting them within just 3 hours, they were taken down by the Trust, which claims they could carry different meanings for different people. Of course, this isn't the first time our national flag has caused such an uproar. Only a few months ago, tree surgeon had his £9,000 council contract cancelled after putting up flags in his hometown. So, who exactly is feeling so unsettled? And when did the flag of our country become so controversial? I've got my panel in the room. We'll just go straight to them on this one. Layla, why is our flag so unsettling?
I was thinking about this. I don't know. And I wonder what other country has a flag issue. Because you go to America, the flag's everywhere and people love it. You know, Ralph Lauren has it all over there. People wear it with pride. And the Union Jack should never be something to apologise for. And I just think that if we don't... We have to build cohesion by common ground. And the common ground is our history, is our shared values, and that's the flag. You know, we have to build it by reinforcing it, not erasing it.
Yeah.
And I do wonder who exactly is offended by the Union flag and why.
Yeah, when I read this story, I was completely gobsmacked, Paul. Do you know anyone that would be unsettled by seeing the British flag?
Not really, no. And I think public buildings like hospitals, there should be proper flagpoles and the flag should be flown. What I do object to, though, is the people that put it up and then have left them there and now they're tattered. I was in my hike in the South Downs this morning at 6 o'clock and there was a very tattered Union Jack on a lamppost and it was dirty. And, you know, somebody who'd put that up should now go and take it down because you can't have that, which I think is quite insulting.
Get them replaced. In India, some people would say, I'm not saying I would say this, I'm putting this to you as a question because I think the audience would kill me if they genuinely thought I believe this, but some people would say that putting these flags up is across the country, the Raise the Colours operation has been a racist operation and it's there to try and, as an act of dominance, as we've been talking about this week, to say you're not welcome here. What would you say to those people?
Well, I do think it's ridiculous to call it a racist operation, but I was going to play devil's advocate in this panel for a second and just say I think that the flag in recent years has become linked with far-right groups and with anti-immigration rhetoric. And, of course, I think historically with sort of Britain's colonial past. I don't think that that is the case. I think the flag should be celebrated. I think patriotism is so important. And, I mean, I'm a royal correspondent. At all royal major events, you see flags in abundance, and I think that that is a really important moment, and particularly also for sport and for sort of grassroots problems in sport. I think it encourages people to sort of want to join our national teams and sort of foster that love of our country. But I do think that it has become splintered and it depends on the use now. So the context of the flag use. So at rallies, people take issue with it.
Paul, I'm so sorry. I'm running out of time.
Too,
yes, you're right. County flags are great too. A spokesman for North Bristol Trust has said this. We recognise that flags and symbols can carry different meanings for different people and unexpected displays like this can feel unsettling, the Trust said. It's disappointing that our staff are having to deal with the additional workload and cost of dealing with the situation. The flags have come down just 3 hours after they were raised. Coming up next, I have a very big report for you on more child sexual abuse cases. That's coming up. Stay with me.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. After plenty of sunshine on Saturday, clear skies tonight will allow some patchy fog to once again reform across England and Wales. Further north and west, though, it is going to be much cloudier, and that's courtesy of this weather front pushing in from the northwest. And through the day on Sunday, that will bring some patchy rain further south too. But back to this evening, and it's underneath the clearing skies across England and Wales. We'd like to see temperatures fall away the quickest. So it will turn to a chilly night across more southern and central parts of the UK. Patchy fog forming, particularly across the southwest of England, but also some patches for the Midlands and maybe the southeast of England. A widespread frost in the countryside with lows of -1 to -3 degrees, perhaps in the most prone locations. Further north and west, though, skies will be cloudying over and we will see some patchy rain for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England later in the night, although that will be clearing from the very far northwest of Scotland by the morning, so some brighter skies for the Hebrides and the Highlands. Patchy rain for Northern Ireland first thing, and maybe the rain pushing into parts of North Wales as well for breakfast time. Otherwise, a bright start today for many southern parts of Britain. Sunny skies for many, but there will be some fog patches and those will only slowly lift through the morning. So parts of East Anglia and the East Midlands could stay a little bit grey for a little bit longer. But the best of the brightness will be across the southeastern third of the UK on Sunday. Thicker cloud for Northern England, Wales and the Midlands. Patchy rain here by the afternoon, but brightening skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but turning windy in the north of Scotland and colder. So heavy showers, perhaps hail and some sleet down to lower levels later in the day. Some fog around first thing on Monday, but for most of England and Wales it will brighten up with some hazy spells of sunshine. Thicker cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and turning wet and windy in western Scotland later, with some particularly heavy rain for the Highlands. Now, as we go through the coming week, it is going to start to turn increasingly more changeable for all of us, and temperatures will fall away, so feeling quite cold by Wednesday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van. This camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. We'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight on the show, a chilling new child sex abuse scandal that involves girls as young as 13 years old, high street mini-marts and a potential police cover-up. I'm going to put a national spotlight on it later in the show. And...
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Is diversity really our strength? And do we need to have more uncomfortable conversations about the ever-increasing role of Islam in Western society? And...
This has never happened before. They were really pretty much our first ally, all over the world, first ally.
That's right, the US president has expressed his disappointment in our country once again as the Islamist regime in Iran has launched ballistic missiles at our base in Diego Garcia. Was Trump proven right once again, though? And the Home Office are trying to block the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from being given taxpayer-funded security over fears of a public backlash. But is this the right thing to do? And a sneak peek at tomorrow's newspapers. The Telegraph leads on this. Iran's missiles can now reach London, Israel warns Starmer. And the Mail is leading on Fergie's plot to clone Queen's corgis for reality TV. All right, bit weird. Anyway, joining me this evening is Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate Layla Cunningham, entertainment correspondent at The Telegraph India McTaggart, and former Labour advisor Paul Richards. And listen, just have a watch this. Have a watch this. That poor bloke. I'm going to reveal what actually happened there. And I will do it this week. I know you tell me I don't always reveal the clips. I will this week, I promise, because that poor guy had a terrible, terrible day. A huge hour coming up, including all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Trust me, your Saturday evening is just about to get started. We're going to get your news first with Bethany Elsey.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 10 o'clock. Israel's army chief is warning Iran's ballistic missile range could reach European capitals. It's after Tehran launched 2 missiles towards a British-American military base on Diego Garcia, which Israel claims had a range of 4,000 kilometres. Both missiles failed to reach their intended target, as one was shot down by an American warship and the other failed in flight. US forces have been given permission to use UK bases to launch strikes to protect the Strait of Hormuz, but the UK government has confirmed RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus will not be used. The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, insists the UK will not be dragged into the wider conflict in the Middle East.
We've seen the latest in Iran's reckless strikes aiming at Gulf partners, at international shipping, at allies and British interests as well. And that is why we have continued to support defensive action. We were not and continue not to be involved in offensive action.
An Iranian man and a Romanian woman have been charged after allegedly trying to enter the base for the UK's nuclear submarine fleet at Faslane near Glasgow. The pair, who are 34 and 31, are due to appear before Dumbarton Sheriff Court on Monday, when more details of their charges are expected to be released. The number of cases in the UK's meningitis outbreak has risen to 34. That's up from 29 yesterday. That includes the 2 students who died from the virus in Kent last weekend. All cases have required hospital admission. Hundreds of people have again been queuing outside the University of Kent today, waiting to receive vaccines. Meanwhile, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is also urging people to get vaccinated against measles after an outbreak in Enfield, which he says could have been prevented.
What's made me so sad and angry is that the outbreak we've seen is entirely preventable if people get vaccinated.
And the former FBI chief, Robert Mueller, has died at the age of 81. He was responsible for overseeing an investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election campaign, which Donald Trump won. Mueller was a decorated Vietnam War veteran who also led the FBI in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. It's reported he'd been suffering from Parkinson's disease. The US president has posted on Truth Social saying he's glad he's dead. Those are your latest news headlines. I'll be back at 11 o'clock.
Following a BBC investigation, it's been revealed that children as young as 13 are allegedly being sexually abused in mini-marts on British high streets. And the authorities in the West Midlands have reportedly known about it for 10 years, according to internal Dudley Council documents seen by the BBC. Trading standards raids in Dudley have found used condoms scattered across the floors and pull-out beds ready for use. Young girls reportedly touched, kissed and dragged towards upstairs rooms, some running away screaming. And the police knew. This is, without a doubt, a new grooming gang epidemic being exposed in Britain right now. And the scariest part is it's probably still going on. A senior council worker has been sounding the alarm to Dudley Council, West Midlands Police and child protection groups since 2016. Internal documents reveal children have been lured with free cigarettes, alcohol and drugs by mini-mart owners, then allegedly traded for sexual favours in shops and the flats above them. The whistleblower showed the BBC a log detailing multiple instances where concerns about child sexual exploitation were raised within a safeguarding group compromising of West Midlands Police, council officers and charities. Just let that sink in for a second. One witness says she was touched and propositioned for sex by shop workers multiple times in different shops after the pandemic. She said they were harassing me, touching me, saying, "I'll pay you money to go to the hotel." Because they got away with it with other girls, they thought they could get away with it with me as well. A mother of a 13-year-old girl said she went to buy something. They tried to drag her upstairs, touching her up, kissing her, trying to rip her clothes off. She managed to run away. Yet sickeningly, when the BBC put these allegations to West Midlands Police, they first claimed this: there is currently no evidence to substantiate these claims of child sexual exploitation connected to shops in Dudley. Then guess what? They were presented with the evidence, and then they issued this statement: we have a robust partnership approach to CSE and safeguarding in the borough and across the wider West Midlands. CSE is a serious crime, so we will always act on any information we receive. Reportedly, West Midlands Police then asked the BBC not to use that first statement. I wonder what changed. It all smells like another disgusting cover-up, doesn't it? How many more warnings? How many do these authorities need? Why are they so consistent in their attempts to bury the truth or simply fail to investigate it? We really do need a fully independent force to investigate the police at this point. And we will likely need new prisons, not just for the thousands who've committed these sick crimes on children and women up and down our country, but for the authorities who helped cover it up. It is vile. It has been going on for too long and it's been brushed under the carpet, and we have got to do something about it. I've got my fantastic panel here to talk about this. Reform UK's 2028 London mayoral candidate, Layla Cunningham, entertainment correspondent at The Telegraph, India McTaggart, and former Labour advisor, Paul Richards. I'll start with you on this, Layla. When I read stories like this, writing the scripts tonight is very hard. I get very angry because when I saw what the West Midlands Police had done with that quote there, it just immediately sounded like damage control. Uh-oh. How do we issue that statement when there's evidence and we've been told reportedly that we knew about it?
Didn't they also ask the BBC to change their initial one?
They did.
The thing is, Alex, when everyone's involved, invariably no one's responsible, right? And you've got to ask, everyone's involved. It's the same area where the grooming gangs really were born, I think. And the problem is, I've heard about these safeguarding boards or whatever. They're very opaque. You know, they don't release what they found. As you said, there's charity people. Who's on it? And why do these bodies get to do their own homework? Like you said, we need when they fail, who are they accountable to? No one.
This is the thing, and I think at this point in time, it's vile what's going on, and we've been having national conversations about this. I'll bring this over to you, Paul. We've been having national conversations about grooming gangs, about rape gangs, about all this stuff for so many years now. Yet it seems to me that conversation is not stopping people. It's not stopping whoever these people are. We don't know who they are because no one's been convicted of any crime yet. But that is not deterring. And the police seemingly aren't taking it seriously still. That's my takeaway from this.
I mean, it is absolutely sickening. My initial reaction, of course, is that whoever's handling the PR for the police needs to be sacked on Monday morning.
Yeah.
It was so tone deaf,
ridiculous,
so lacking in any kind of human empathy that it is just a bureaucratic statement. Absolutely ridiculous. But the story is the age-old story, isn't it? It's about girls not being believed, particularly working-class girls. It's about power imbalances, and it's about men who think they can get away with it.
India, it's...
But can I just put on pausing? It's not they think they can get away with it. The sad thing is that they do get away with it. This has been going on for 10 years. And you heard that, girls, again, were not believed. Safeguarding boards looked away, tried to change the statement. It's not that they think they get it. They know they can, and that's why they do it.
Yeah, India, this is the problem, isn't it? It seems that there's this... Authorities aren't learning. The people committing the crimes are thinking, well, I can still just get away with this, because they have been for so long. As one of those quotes said, one of the girls who had gone through this experience said, because they got away with it with other girls, they thought they could do that with me too, and she obviously wasn't going to have it. But that quote to me said that there's obviously spoken about experience amongst women in that area.
Precisely, a very damning reflection, isn't it, on the forces? And I just don't understand why we're always playing catch-up with issues of child sex exploitation and grooming gangs. How are the police forces not jumping on this as their first priority? It really is shocking. So I think at the immediate hint of any wrongdoing, all the doors need to be knocked down and burst open, and it needs to be completely transparent, because unfortunately, when it then results in what we've seen with the grooming gangs, it will be far too late, and there'll be far too many victims than there should have been, and there should be none, always, there will be public inquiries and we'll be hand-wringing for years about what went wrong when we should have just implemented
The thing is that they've never really taken child sexual exploitation seriously. I mean, they were... Under Starmer, when he was DPP, they were handing out ASBOs. They were handing out warning notices to people that they thought were engaged in child... Warning notices, that's what you give to mild nuisances. They were giving it out to people who they suspected to be abusing young girls. It's completely unacceptable, and it shows that they treated it as a nuisance. And that is a betrayal of our girls, and it's actually a betrayal of all our values. And what really worries me, India, and Alice, I don't see accountability anywhere.
This is the problem,
I don't see anyone losing their jobs. I don't see anyone going to prison. This has been going on for 10 years. Imagine how many girls have been a victim and the state has looked away, or worse, and I shudder to say it, been complicit.
And this is the thing, right? As we knew, the grooming gangs have been going on for a very, very, very long time. You pointed to the pedo ASBO story. We spoke about this here. The journalist that exposed that came in and spoke to us about it. It was quite damning. I think it was quite damning for Keir Starmer, who oversaw that as Director of Public Prosecutions at the time. It was one of his policies, which essentially made, I think, a lot of these cases go under the rug. Paul, when we come to this National Grooming Gangs inquiry, is there there's a concern by many people that Labour are worried about the political fallout from it, as many other inquiries are inevitably political. The latest COVID inquiry has slammed Boris Johnson. Are Labour concerned about these grooming gang inquiries? Because we're still waiting a very long time for them, aren't we?
The most important thing is to get to the truth and to bang up the perpetrators if they are found guilty, and to get justice for the women and the girls. And I don't think it's about the politics or which party is in power or not. All the guilty must be named and punished, and that's the most important thing that can come out of this.
Let's talk about
I don't trust this inquiry at all. It's led by a Labour peer. It should be led by an independent inquiry.
I do agree with that.
She was Child Commissioner, and she allowed the omission of the ethnicity and the religion of the abusers when those reports were coming out.
Yes.
Furthermore, the terms of the inquiry say that they will not investigate every town and every victim, and so one has to assume that they'll investigate those that are politically safe, those that are well known. Those are the terms of reference of the inquiry.
Why do you assume bad motives then?
Because it is the Labour Party that covered it up for a very long time.
So you're making it party political? You're making it party political?
Yes, why is it impossible
for it not to be party political?
Why is it a Labour peer? Why is it not an independent judge?
Who?
Anne Longfield.
Well,
she's the chair. Why is it not a judge?
Because she's a very respected public figure.
She's not respected in the public. She's respected in the Labour Party, but she was Child Commissioner when it was thriving, and everyone knows that the ethnicity and religion of the abusers was omitted under her reports.
India, do you share the concern that these inquiries end up being whitewashes? I have to say, watching the COVID inquiry, I've just felt, what was the point of this? What a massive waste of money. No one's any wiser. It's been sort of a political tennis match between people about who is to blame for which politician was was to blame, when we know it was a global pandemic, and actually people would like to know how it started rather than how terribly did we respond to it, which we all knew was the case.
Exactly. I think, as you rightly pointed out, we knew it was the case that we responded completely terribly to it. It is a colossal waste of money and time to be doing these inquiries, and as I said before, just hand-wringing when we should have taken the decisive action from the get-go. And I just don't know when the lesson gets learned. It's just not good enough.
Yeah, and when we talk about cases like this, West Midlands Police, to me, there seems to be a lot going on in that police authority, India. When we look at what happened with Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, for example, who were banned under false pretences, I think we can safely say now, on reflection, no intervention from the government, although they did put out all the right noises. It was far too late when it came to it. Is there a concern that police forces are sort of running wild at the moment?
Yes, I think it comes back to the point Layla was making before, which is about accountability, which is that they need to be supervised in a way and held accountable for the mistakes that they made. And that Maccabi decision was terrible, and at the time it was really the wrong call, of course. And they should be sort of very much scrutinised for all of these choices and decisions that they make, but it doesn't appear that they have been or will be.
Yeah, that's the worry, Layla, isn't it? That because it is, to me, authorities are the ones who've allowed this to get so bad, because it's their job to intervene and stop this. It seems to me that if this case that we've reported on today, I would say, is probably prolific across the country. I'd say this is just 100%. A tiny, tiny drop in the ocean, as it always was with the grooming gangs.
Do we know if it's connected to the grooming gang?
We don't know, but it sounds like a similar sort of tactics were being used.
Similar area, and you know, and like you cannot. Sadly, the state cannot be trusted anymore. You know, you saw Sadiq Khan said that grooming gangs didn't exist in London. Under public pressure, Mark Riley said, actually, we're reviewing 9,000 cases. How do you get 9,000 cases wrong? And I don't know, you know, I'm at a loss as to think of a way, an independent way, unless you know, someone goes in there, a judge, or I don't know, who goes in and breaks up these forces. You know, the commissioners have to take responsibility. You know, it's their officers, they have to resign, and they have to potentially be prosecuted. Why not?
Paul, do you agree with Layla's assessment?
Well, I think there is a role for the Police and Crime Commissioner to look at this very closely. That's what they're for now, until they're abolished. But I think also there will be a very difficult conversation between the Home Secretary and the Chief Police Officer in that particular constabulary, because you do have to have accountability within the system.
Yeah, OK, well, look, of course, we'll continue looking into this story, because I think there's a lot to be discovered here. We're not going to let it just slide. As you know, GB News takes these sorts of things very seriously, and we've got a good track record of putting a national spotlight on these things. And we'll continue to do it here. Great minds like Charlie Peters, I'm sure, will be watching and thinking about what they can be reporting on next. A spokesperson for West Midlands Police said this: "We have a robust partnership approach to child sexual exploitation and safeguarding in the borough and across the wider West Midlands. CSE is a serious crime, so we will always act in any information we receive. We regularly meet with partners to discuss any concerns and share fresh intelligence. We have specifically trained CSE coordinators who act on information intelligence, support a coordinated response. If there are any concerns, we always encourage those to be reported so we can investigate further and mitigate any risk." Wayne Little, Cabinet Member for Children's Services at Dudley Council, has told the BBC this: "We take all reports of child sexual exploitation seriously and work closely with internal colleagues and partner agencies as part of the Dudley Safeguarding People Partnership." And on the subject of grooming gangs, a Home Office spokesperson said the sexual exploitation and abuse of children, including by grooming gangs, are among the most horrific crimes imaginable. Decisions on which areas will be subject to investigations by the inquiry are solely a matter for the chair. OK, right, so we're going to just switch over now to the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win a big camper van, 67 grand and 25k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van worth over £67,000. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however whatever you like. In total, this prize package is worth over £92,000. So make sure you secure your place in the draw. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, we'll take a look at all of your Sunday front pages, but next.
This has never happened before. They were really pretty much our first ally, all over the world, first ally.
Donald Trump has said we are a disappointment again once again as the Islamist regime in Iran has launched ballistic missiles at the Chagos Islands. Of course, the base is Diego Garcia there. Has Donald Trump been proven right again? That's next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Commons in Tunbridge Wells, a space at the heart of the community, cherished for generations, but now its future is uncertain. Locals assumed the Tunbridge Wells and Rusthall Commons were common land, but for the last 18 years they've belonged to a property company, Target Follow, and now they've put the land up for sale. A proposal linked to part of the site has sparked fierce opposition. Campaigners fear plans for 104 luxury apartments and 285 parking spaces.
This land, which is village green, subject to many protections, what they want to do is deregister it by swapping it with a piece of land over at the end of Rusthall, which to us seems of questionable value and utility. We've already got a lot of these types of blocks. My understanding is they're not all fully occupied. We don't need any more, and we certainly don't need it on a precious resource like the Commons.
Campaign groups say they want to bring the land into public ownership. So far, they've gathered over 1,650 pledges, more than £500,000, but they need more by the end of this month.
The support from the people of Tunbridge Wells and Rusthall has been phenomenal. Everybody agrees with what we're doing. They all want us to bring the Commons into public ownership. But if we don't do it now, we'll probably never be able to do it. If this area is developed, then bit by bit there'll be more and more. The 900 or so residences around the Commons could be charged more for access to the Commons.
In a statement, owner Target Follow says the Commons have always been privately owned and have flourished during its ownership. They say there's been lots of interest from potential buyers and bids will be considered this month.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
GB Loyalty Points is here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB Loyalty Points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, listen, I wanted to give you a big update on the war in Iran. Of course, this war has been heating up quite a lot over the last few weeks, particularly over the last few days. Now, the wider war in the Strait of Hormuz has created a massive surge in oil supplies. Hopefully we can get the graphics up for you in just a second. Here it is. You can see the war has been expanding as strikes across other Middle Eastern nations have really heated up. Kuwait, Qatar, even Saudi Arabia now declaring that they might be getting involved in this war. And of course, the epicenter of that is Iran itself. Now, of course, Britain has got a base over there in Cyprus. We've been speaking about that a lot lately, haven't we? We'll come to that in just a moment. Let's get to the next point here, the Strait of Hormuz. This is a very small bit of water for ships to travel across. And of course, because Iran is so close to its proximity to the Strait of Hormuz, it really does control the flow of oil coming in and out of the area. The UAE, just down here, you can see how close the two countries are, hence why you're seeing some of those drone strikes hit tourist hotspots here. Now, what American and Israeli forces have been focused on is clearing this strait. Now, since the Iranians closed it earlier this month, we have seen a massive drop in the amount of tankers that can get in and out of the area. Prior to the war, 138 a day on average. Now, post the closure of the strait, about 4 or 5 tankers reportedly are getting through. It's essentially a 95% drop in the amount of oil coming in and out of this location, hence its strategic importance to the West. Let's get on to the next slide. Now, this is the island you've heard a lot about. This is Karg Island. Now, this is where 95% of those tankers will dock. Obviously, that contains millions of barrels of oil every single day being processed on that island. Now, Donald Trump, of course, has made it his mission to bomb that area. He even said the other day he was going to bomb it again, perhaps just for fun. That's how important it is. That is how much they are talking about this strategic location, a tiny little island. Now, of course, the big discussions over the last few days and hours, particularly today, is that Donald Trump is signalling they may put boots on the ground on this little island. Will that be a massive escalation in this war? Now, let's go to the bit that might be more important for you, the range of missiles that can hit different targets. Now, of course, last night, as Keir Starmer gave permission for the Americans to launch their bombers from the Chagos Islands, of course, base there being Diego Garcia, well, the Iranians fought back. They said, nope, we're going to hit you where it hurts. And they fired 2 ballistic missiles towards the Chagos Islands. That exposed something critical. Before, the Iranian regime only admitted that they could indeed only get 2,000 kilometres before their missile range would be inadequate. Now we know that that number is double, and Israeli sources are saying tonight that Iran could indeed even hit London. That is why so many of us are saying this is our war. The Iranians clearly have been lying to the world about their ballistic missile capabilities, which makes this even more critical for Britain's security and defence. Let's speak to my guest now, Simon Diggins, who's come down the line. He's a defence analyst and a former British Army officer. Simon, thank you very much for joining me this evening. How worried should we be about Iran's capabilities to strike Britain from its base in Tehran?
Alex, good evening to you. I think it is clearly a major threat. I suspect they don't have too many missiles who are capable of doing that. But let's also be honest, that the bases we have got on Cyprus are also sovereign British territory. So Iran represents a threat to us. I think the really important thing about this is that the capabilities, the declared capabilities of Iran and its actual capabilities are so different. And I think that reads across to the discussion, the debate about whether or not Iran has nuclear weapons or the near potential to have nuclear weapons. I think that also changes the dynamic about what's going on. Lots of people still trying to say they haven't developed nuclear weapons. I point to the evidence. The evidence is you have some 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. There's no reason to do that if all you're doing is developing a civil nuclear power program. That requires about 5 or 6% enriched uranium, so 12 times the enrichment required for a civil nuclear affairs program. So it seems to me that we've now seen that they have a capability which was undeclared, and I think that also, as I said, will be part of the development or the capability to put in a nuclear weapon there as well. So I think it points to the same argument. This is a really dangerous regime that lies, naturally lies, if you like, and then so we should not trust it, and indeed we should be countering it as fast as we can be.
Brief question for you here. We've seen the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, today essentially admits that we are under attack by these missiles. But again, we are constantly continuing this message of not engaging in an offensive war here, only a defensive one. At what point in time do we need to start engaging in an offensive war in order to protect our own bases and our own troops?
Well, I think that time has long since passed. And Kelly Badenoch put it rather well 2 weeks ago. She said, why are we trying to block the archers and their arrows when we should be going after the archer? And I think that's exactly the point. Well, we've now had that. We've had an attack on Akrotiri, a British sovereign base area. We've now had a direct attack on Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean using a weapon system which we didn't even know they had. I mean, at some point you have to say, enough is enough. I think that point has long since been passed, and I'm staggered, surprised, and frankly just disappointed that our government can't seem to see that.
Simon Diggins, retired British Army officer and defence analyst, thank you very much for joining me this evening to give me your thoughts on this story, because it's evolving quite quickly now. In India, I'll start with you. We've seen so many attacks now, as Simon was just saying there, one on our base in Cyprus. We've now seen 2 ballistic missiles fired at Diego Garcia. It seems to me that the Foreign Secretary is completely out of touch with reality now. We are at war with these people. They are our enemies. They wish no well on Britain. They have already, in their sermons in the Friday prayers, they used to chant death to England. At what point have we got, is he right? Have we gone past the point where we should have engaged in this war?
I mean, it's interesting. There are really two, obviously, differing sides to this. I overheard someone in my office say earlier this week that Sir Keir Starmer might be on the right side of history by delaying his response in the way that he did, although obviously we know he was heavily critiqued by that, by Trump mainly. Who said he was no Winston Churchill, as everyone will remember.
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
And has since made attacks also on NATO, calling them cowards for not getting involved. Now, obviously, this is growing much more dramatic. Sir Keir is about to face not only these imminent attacks, obviously, on our bases, but a very difficult position at home with rising household bills and basically another cost of living crisis, just as the other one was about to abate. So he is in a difficult position where I think his hands are tied now and he must get involved.
Paul, it does seem to be that way, doesn't it? That the question now pertains, do we wait until a British members of our armed forces are killed before we engage and fire back at Iran, or do we just sit on our hands and do nothing while we're being shot at?
Well, we are engaged, and we're engaged in a defensive stance because we're not at war with Iran.
But a defensive stance would mean you would respond when you're attacked.
And the articles of NATO are very clear on this. Article 5 is if a NATO nation is attacked in Europe or in America, which it hasn't been. So he's right. And Starmer
is not a NATO war. This is not a NATO war.
Starmer is in the same place as all the other world leaders, apart from Trump and Israel, and also British public opinion appears to be behind Starmer. Love him or loathe him on all the other issues. On this, he seems to be both getting it right from a historical point of view, as India points out, but also where the public is in right now. So I think it's right to be cautious about this war, not least for all the things we know. There's no clear war aims. The Ayatollah that's in position now is much more hardline than the one that they assassinated. The Iranians are now...
I don't know how you can be more hardlined.
Well, he is. He's far... Well, he's not only more hardline, but they've also... he's more hardline, and also they've killed his father, his mother, his wife and his son. So he's not really very well disposed to the West,
Well, you're right, Paul, but for a very long time they've been goading this war. I mean, his father was constantly saying, we can't wait to have a glorious war with Israel, America and the West. I mean, it's not like they shouldn't have expected it. I mean,
they've got it, and I hope that we have regime change. I hope that they brought down, but there's no sign of that. Where is that happening?
Layla, my concern is that many people say this is is not our war. This IRGC operates here on British soil. We've seen potential allegations in the news just in the last 24, 48 hours about our nuclear bases, which terrified me. We've also seen terror attacks attempted here by Iranian operatives. At what point are we going to get tough? At what point are we going to get tough and say this is our war, actually? Because I believe it is.
Well, number one, I think the number one thing we must do is prescribe the IRGC as a terrorist organisation. It is mad that we haven't. Europe has done it, and I don't know why we're lagging behind. But the thing is, I don't think we're ready, Alex. I don't think we have the military capability. You know, I think I was reading that we have... we can detect these missiles, the ballistic missiles, if they come towards us. And I think we use a Type 45 destroyer. I've written it here. We only have 6 of them. And I don't know if they're ready. You know, we saw how long it took to get to Cyprus. And we will rely on the USA. But I think the number one thing we have to do is be ready for any military action. And we're not. We don't have the capability. So I think right now, let's prescribe the IRGC first, so we protect, we keep enemies off our land.
OK, there we go. Look, coming up, the front pages have dropped. The Telegraph says this: Iran's missiles can now reach London. Israel warns Starmer. So we will be talking more about this. Plus, find out what's going on here. Poor man. Really, really poor bloke. Well, I'll tell you all about that very shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The weather remains pretty disturbed around the Canaries. Further gusty winds and heavy showers. More showers to come in Cyprus as well this weekend. Should see some sunshine in Mallorca. Madeira also seeing heavy showers from an area of low pressure. Storm Therese still in evidence here. The odd shower in southern Spain, but most of Spain and Portugal dry and sunny. Good deal of dry weather across southern Italy. 1 or 2 showers likely in Sicily. The showers fading in Greece. Some sunny spells here. Continued risk of thunderstorms in the Canaries into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. After plenty of sunshine on Saturday, clear skies tonight will allow some patchy fog to once again reform across England and Wales. Further north and west, though, it is going to be much cloudier, and that's courtesy of this weather front pushing in from the northwest. And through the day on Sunday, that will bring some patchy rain further south too. But back to this evening, and it's underneath the clearing skies across England and Wales. We'd like to see temperatures fall away the quickest. So it will turn to a chilly night across more southern and central parts of the UK. Patchy fog forming, particularly across the southwest of England, but also some patches for the Midlands and maybe the southeast of England. A widespread frost in the countryside with lows of -1 to -3 degrees, perhaps in the most prone locations. Further north and west, though, skies will be cloudying over, and we will see some patchy rain for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England later in the night, although that will be clearing from the very far northwest of Scotland by the morning, so some brighter skies for the Hebrides and the Highlands. Patchy rain for Northern Ireland first thing, and maybe the rain pushing into parts of North Wales as well for breakfast time. Otherwise, a bright start today for many southern parts of Britain. Sunny skies for many, but there will be some fog patches, and those will only slowly lift through the morning. So parts of East Anglia and the East Midlands could stay a little bit grey for a little bit longer. But the best of the brightness will be across the southeastern third of the UK on Sunday. Thicker cloud for Northern England, Wales and the Midlands. Patchy rain here by the afternoon, but brightening skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but turning windy in the north of Scotland and colder. So heavy showers, perhaps hail and some sleet down to lower levels later in the day. Some fog around first thing on Monday, but for most of England and Wales it will brighten up with some hazy spells of sunshine. Thicker cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and turning wet and windy in western Scotland later, with some particularly heavy rain for the Highlands. Now, as we go through the coming week, it is going to start to turn increasingly more changeable for all of us, and temperatures will fall away, so feeling quite cold by Wednesday.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
All right, everybody. Quiet. We're on air, guys.
I am. Really
hello. I've got tomorrow's front pages here with me. Should we go through them together? The Telegraph. Iran's missiles can now reach London. Israel warns Starmer. The Sunday Times. Iran has the firepower to hit London, claims Israel. The Sun. We're so in live. That's TV Pete and Olivia in steamy Hotel Barkis. The Sunday Mirror. Tell us what you know, Fergie. That's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? And they're leading the GBnews.com website tonight. Keir Starmer has his eyes set on a cabinet reshuffle in scramble to survive looming elections. Protesters slam Keir Starmer's government over handling of Iran conflict. They say shame on you. Sir Jim Ratcliffe launches legal action against Britain's most successful sailor with a £180 million demand. All right, let's go through these with my panel. Look, I mean, we were just talking about Iran, so maybe we'll just park that for a quick second there. Now, on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph as well, Layla, I'll start with you.
Yes.
White working class boys are being failed by state schools. So they're saying here, Britain has failed white working class boys who remain the worst performing group in England's schools. Lord Cyril will tell Sir Keir Starmer this week.
I mean, it's true. You know, only 16 to 80% of white working class boys go to university. Over 50% of black and Asian boys do. But Alex, listen, you know very well that if you have a special programme for white working class boys, it's going to be deemed racist. But it's completely fine to have a specialist programme for black kids or Asian kids. And it's not fashionable or politically correct to do it for white working class boys.
It's not DEI, is it?
No, and they have been let down.
Yeah, Paul, what do you make of that?
Well, what are these specialist schemes of which you speak? I don't know about that.
Come on, you see the bar. The bar had a programme for black children only.
No, we're talking about school children. I think it's down to the parents. I think the parents are pushing those kids through their exams and getting them better results, and the white working class kids are being left behind. And I think we've been saying this for decades. It's not news. We've been saying this for a long time, so we do need to fix it.
Yeah,
indeed. And that's exactly what Lord Cyril says in his quote. He says, we were told 5 years ago that class, geography and family stability were the biggest drivers for disparity rather than race. And he's saying we should have acted upon it then.
But they didn't.
Yeah, but
they pushed
5 years ago, they was you, by the way. It was the Conservative Party.
No, I don't. Just because I'm part of a party doesn't mean, I don't excuse any kind of DEI programmes. I mean, even Westminster Council, they were saying if your mother read to you, then you've got a special, you get a special privilege. I think we have to go back to everyone deserves the help they need, irrelevant of the colour of their skin.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it, Paul? Because we do, when you look at universities as well, there are DEI programmes that there isn't really much for white working class kids. We see a lot of focus on identity politics. Actually, we do see a lot of focus on that. When actually, what should be happening is the kids that are suffering the most be targeted, no matter what their race are, no matter what their gender is, no matter what anything is. And that's something I've been saying for a very long time. As someone who went to a state school and was white working class young man growing up, there wasn't any support. And I saw a lot of my friends fall through the system, where for others there was support.
Well, these are fair points, and I think there was a golden moment where we had the Sure Start programme, we had academy schools, particularly in London, transforming the results and the outcomes for all kids of whatever ethnicity, and that moment seems to have rescinded, and that's a shame. But I think that very targeted effort on standards, on discipline, on uniform, on good teaching, can create an environment in any kind of school where anyone can prosper if they've got the talent to do so.
I don't think it comes down to that. I think it comes down
It doesn't come down to the schools, the standards and the teaching. What does it come down to?
The government has picked the favourites, when you do have DEI programmes and it doesn't include white working class boys. You see it. The Bar Council had something for black children and other various organisations. You see it all the time. You can't deny it happens. It's flourished in the past 10 years. And sadly, white working class boys have been left to fail and
DEI in school? What is that?
And no programme.
What is it?
And any programme that helps them will be deemed racist. That is the truth.
Well, I just want to come in with something that's not entirely unrelated, but I'm thinking of it in the forefront of my mind because I watched The Manosphere the other day by Louis Theroux. I don't know if you have both seen it. It's an amazing documentary, but there is a crisis of masculinity overall. Yeah. And I do think that that plays into this as well, because boys are a bit lost right now.
Totally agree with you.
Understandably. Yeah. They don't know sort of who to be, who to look up to, and then it results in these crazy online...
They're demonised. They're demonised.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
they're demonised.
Interesting here, Lord Sewell said places he identified in his report were later affected by riots in the summer of 2024, having been neglected by governments and policymakers. He said right-wing groups manipulated the situation and racism had clearly driven many rioters, but by failing to deal with the left-behind white communities, he said, politicians had something, which I can't read, unfortunately, but I assume he said they failed British people, but there we go, white working-class people. There we go, we'll talk more about that. But there's a clip that caught my eye this week, and imagine just going to the park, getting your workout done, and ending your final set with the Bomb Squad. So that poor man there was wearing a weighted vest so he can get more out of his exercise in the park. I mean, listen, I don't exercise outdoors. India, have you seen this clip before?
I hadn't seen the clip before, but I had read the story when it came out and thought, my God, how unfortunate that you just want to exercise and you're wearing this weighted vest and then you get descended upon by this scary... I mean, you know, I'm not blaming the police because I'm happy they're being overcautious. It's great, but the poor guy...
But to be fair, my friends wear those vests, and it does kind of look like a bomb vest.
It does look a little bit
I'm like, especially if you wear it under clothes. Yes. If I saw someone like that on the tube, I would be scared, and I would call the police.
For the designers to pivot.
But the guy was in a park. He wasn't on a tube.
No, but even in the park, it does look like a suicide vest.
Well, maybe the police have never seen one before.
You can get little ankle or wrist weights instead. That looks.
Yeah, but they're like 1 kilo. This is.
Yeah. Maybe make them bright pink.
Yeah.
You know, that might take away the. But then again, maybe men wouldn't buy them. I don't know. Anyway, more front pages coming up for you on the Sunday Express. Dithering UK shunned over defence deals. I mean, how bad has this all been for us? It's been horrendous, hasn't it? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News. I'll be back next.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's pothole problem is spiralling. According to car repair company QuickFit, damage caused by potholes has cost drivers a staggering £1.7 billion. And here in Wales, many drivers say the situation is becoming a nightmare. The Welsh Government says it's repaired 171,000 potholes across the country so far. But here in the city of Newport, some locals are not convinced.
We have some really giant potholes in Newport, and I'm really concerned we could end up with some fatalities at night with people riding on motorbikes and cycles. So it's a real big issue for the people in Newport, and it's in a really bad state.
And it's not just city streets feeling the strain. In rural areas, residents often have no alternative routes, meaning potholes are almost impossible to avoid. Nigel Hallett is the chair of Micleston and Vedu Community Council and says rural communities face a different set of challenges. Newport Council says it's paid out nearly £25,000 in compensation, but some residents say their claims are still being refused, including one woman whose husband was left with a £350 repair bill.
We tried to claim with the council. Initially, one letter went off, standard letter return to say, no, you didn't tell us that the fault was there before you hit it. So we can't pay any claims out, so he's just back and forth constantly now.
The council says it understands residents' frustrations and has made road maintenance a major priority in its budget. Alongside a £6.6 million resurfacing programme already underway, it says more than £20 million is being invested in Newport's roads between 2025 and 27.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back to all of you who have not been watching us. Where have you been, as someone else might say on this channel? We're thrilled to announce that GB News Breakfast has been once again nominated for the Best News Programme at the Trick Awards. We've won this award for the past 3 years, and of course, we wouldn't have been able to do it without all of you watching and listening. But we need you to vote for us if you think we should win this year too. You can do that by scanning the QR code on the screen or by going to poll-trick.org.uk. Thank you very much for your support. Let's return to the front pages. Let's go to The Independent. They're saying UK's fury over Iran's reckless attacks on Diego Garcia. They're not reckless, are they? They're targeted. You were saying this earlier, weren't you? Targeted attacks. The Mail, Fergie plot to clone Queen's corgis for reality TV. What on earth will she do next? The Sunday Express, dithering UK shunned over defence deals. Now, I want to throw up the front page of the Mirror here. If we can do. And India, you've obviously done a lot of royal correspondence in your time. The front page here saying, tell us what you know, Fergie. US lawmakers call on ex-Duchess to give evidence.
Yes, so this was the first time that US lawmakers have called on Fergie to give evidence, because previously they've been calling on Andrew to come. Obviously, important to note, both of them can very much just choose not to go, and they likely will not go, because obviously it will not serve them. Of course, they should do, and they should be completely transparent about everything that went on, about their relationship with Epstein. I had to delve into the emails between all of them for a very long time, 3 weeks, and it's shocking. It really is. And the language used and the pandering to him and the excusing, it's pretty terrible. So they should do. But have the questions helped so far? Did you see Bill and Hillary? I mean, Bill's one was laughable. He was
shocking.
Sort of reminiscing.
He was looking at them like
smiling, saying, "Don't take this away." And I just don't know if it's helping.
When his lawyer snatched the documents or the photos away, the thing is, she took her girls to him. Didn't she, Fergie?
Yeah, they visited him after he got released, so that was...
And asked him to buy their ticket. Why would she take her girls to a known convicted paedophile?
A huge error.
It's a big mistake. Paul, do you think it's over for Fergie as well?
Well, it's that classic example of if she has nothing to hide, why doesn't she just go? The fact that she stays here speaks volumes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Listen, we got loads more coming up on the show this evening as well. We're going to go through some more of these front pages and some really good stuff on the gbnews.com website as well. Is Keir Starmer planning a reshuffle to save his own backside in these local looming elections, of course, as we're expecting it not to be a very good day for Keir Starmer. And, of course, protesters there slamming the government's handling of the Iran conflict. Loads to get into. That's all coming up very shortly on Alex Armstrong Tonight. But first, let's get your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. After plenty of sunshine on Saturday, clear skies tonight will allow some patchy fog to once again reform across England and Wales. Further north and west, though, it is going to be much cloudier, and that's courtesy of this weather front pushing in from the northwest. And through the day on Sunday, that will bring some patchy rain further south too. But back to this evening, and it's underneath the clearing skies across England and Wales. We'd like to see temperatures fall away the quickest. So it will turn to a chilly night across more southern and central parts of the UK. Patchy fog forming, particularly across the southwest of England, but also some patches for the Midlands and maybe the southeast of England. A widespread frost in the countryside with lows of -1 to -3 degrees, perhaps in the most prone locations. Further north and west, though, skies will be cloudying over, and we will see some patchy rain for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England later in the night, although that will be clearing from the very far northwest of Scotland by the morning, so some brighter skies for the Hebrides and the Highlands. Patchy rain for Northern Ireland first thing, and maybe the rain pushing into parts of North Wales as well for breakfast time. Otherwise, a bright start today for many southern parts of Britain. Sunny skies for many, but there will be some fog patches, and those will only slowly lift through the morning. So parts of East Anglia and the East Midlands could stay a little bit grey for a little bit longer. But the best of the brightness will be across the southeastern third of the UK on Sunday. Thicker cloud for Northern England, Wales and the Midlands. Patchy rain here by the afternoon, but brightening skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but turning windy in the north of Scotland and colder. So heavy showers, perhaps hail and some sleet down to lower levels later in the day. Some fog around first thing on Monday, but for most of England and Wales it will brighten up with some hazy spells of sunshine. Thicker cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and turning wet and windy in western Scotland later, with some particularly heavy rain for the Highlands. Now, as we go through the coming week, it is going to start to turn increasingly more changeable for all of us, and temperatures will fall away, so feeling quite cold by Wednesday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Is Keir Starmer planning a cabinet reshuffle to save his backside, with the local elections looking like it's going to be a very bad time for our beleaguered Prime Minister? Maybe he needs to hang on in there. And Iran seems like it's got the capabilities to strike London. That is what Israel is apparently telling Keir Starmer. There's also calls here for a cap on energy prices, given the global shock across, of course, across Britain. We're suffering pretty heavily here. And William says he's not a devout Christian, but he does believe. Is the future king going to be one to stand by Christianity? That's next.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect.